My brother looked at me with disgust and said, "If you want to come to Dad's funeral, you need to pay for it. Otherwise, stay home." I didn't argue. I just smiled and said okay. But what they didn't know was that I'd been planning for this moment for years. My name is Marcus Chen. I'm 23 years old, and this is the story of how my family tried to use me one last time and how I made sure everyone knew the truth. What happened at that funeral? Trust me, you need to hear this entire story because the ending will leave you speechless. Growing up, I was always the outsider in my own family. My older brother Derek was the sports star. My younger sister Jessica was the princess. And me? I was just the middle kid nobody really noticed. Derek got a new car when he turned 16. Jessica got a huge, sweet 16 party. When I turned 16, they took me to a diner and Dad gave me $50. That was it. But here's the thing about being ignored. You learn to survive on your own. While Derek was partying and Jessica was shopping, I was working 3 jobs and saving every penny. I delivered pizzas after school, worked weekends at a grocery store, and did people's homework online for cash. By the time I was 18, I had $12,000 saved up. Nobody in my family even asked what I was doing. When I told them I got accepted to college, Mom just said, "That's nice, dear," and went back to watching TV. Derek laughed and said college was for nerds. Dad didn't even look up from his phone, so I left for college and barely anyone noticed I was gone. I called home every week at first, then every month. Then I just stopped because nobody ever called me back. 4 years later, I graduated with a degree in computer science and got a job at a tech company making good money. I bought my own apartment, my own car, everything with MY money. I didn't ask my family for a single thing. And you know what? They never asked how I was doing either, until Dad got sick. The call came from Jessica on a random Tuesday. "Dad has cancer," she said, crying. "It's really bad." My heart dropped. I asked if I could come visit. She said, "I guess so," like she was doing me a favor. I drove 6 hours back home that weekend. When I walked in, Derek was on the couch eating chips. Jessica was on her phone. Mom was in the kitchen. Dad was upstairs in bed looking awful. I spent the whole weekend there helping out. I cleaned, I cooked, I sat with Dad and talked to him. Nobody else did anything. When I left on Sunday, Dad squeezed my hand and said, "Thank you, son." It was the first time he'd said anything nice to me in years. I drove home crying the whole way. 3 months later, Dad passed away. Jessica called me screaming, "You need to come home right now and help us plan the funeral." I said okay and drove home again. When I got there, the whole family was sitting around the table looking stressed. "The funeral home wants $15,000, Mom said. "We don't have that kind of money." Derek looked at me with this smug expression. "Well, Marcus, you're the big fancy tech guy now. You should pay for it." I blinked. "What?" Jessica rolled her eyes. "You owe us, Marcus. We raised you. The least you can do is pay for Dad's funeral." Mom nodded. "If you want to be part of this family, you'll help out." Here's where it gets interesting. I looked around that table at these people who'd ignored me my whole life, who never came to my graduation, who never asked about my job, who only called when they needed something, and I smiled. "Okay," I said. "I'll pay for everything." Derek looked shocked. Jessica's mouth fell open. Mom actually looked suspicious. "Really?" she asked. "Yes, really," I said. "I'll pay for the funeral, the flowers, the burial, everything, but I have one condition." They all leaned in. "I want to speak at the funeral. I want to say some words about Dad." They all agreed immediately. Over the next week, I paid for everything. The casket, the flowers, the church service, the burial plot, the reception food, all of it. $18,000 total. My family was so happy. Derek kept patting me on the back. Jessica kept hugging me. Mom kept saying, "I always knew you were a good boy." It made me sick. But here's what they didn't know. While I was paying for everything, I was also doing something else. See, when Dad got sick, he asked me to help him organize his papers. He was worried about Mom being able to find everything after he died. So I helped him. And that's when I found everything. I found bank statements showing Derek had borrowed $40,000 from Dad over the years and never paid back a cent. I found credit card bills showing Jessica had used Dad's card to buy $25,000 worth of clothes and vacations. I found emails where Mom had taken money from Dad's retirement account to go on trips with her friends. They had drained him dry while he was sick. But there was more. I found Dad's real will, not the fake one Mom was planning to show everyone. In his real will, Dad left everything to me. The house, his life insurance, his savings, all of it. He'd changed it 2 months before he died. There was a letter attached that said, "Marcus is the only one who truly cared about me. The others only care about money." The day of the funeral came. The church was packed with people. Everyone was dressed in black. Derek, Jessica, and Mom were sitting in the front row looking sad for the cameras. The service was beautiful. People told stories about Dad. Everyone cried. Then it was time for MY's speech. I walked up to the microphone and looked out at everyone. "Thank you all for coming," I said. "Dad was a complicated man. He worked hard his whole life to give his family everything they needed. But I need to tell you all the truth about what happened in his final years." I pulled out a folder. "This is a bank statement showing my brother Derek borrowed $40,000 from Dad and never paid it back, even when Dad was dying and needed money for treatment." Derek's face went red. People gasped. "This is a credit card statement showing my sister Jessica spent $25,000 of Dad's money on shopping while he was too weak to even notice." Jessica started crying. "And this," I held up another paper, "shows my mother took $30,000 from Dad's retirement account to go on vacations while he was sick in bed." Mom stood up. "Marcus, stop this right now." The whole church was silent. You could hear a pin drop. "But here's the most important thing," I said, holding up the will. "This is Dad's real will, written 2 months before he died. He left everything to me because, quote, Marcus is the only one who truly cared about me as a person and not as a bank account." The lawyer in the back row stood up and nodded. "I can confirm that's the legal will." Derek lunged at me, but 2 of Dad's friends held him back. Jessica was sobbing. Mom was screaming at me to stop lying, but I just kept going. "I paid $18,000 for this funeral today. Money I earned from MY job. And you know what? It's the last money this family will ever get from me. Dad saw who you really were. I'm just making sure everyone else sees it too." I walked off the stage and straight out of the church. Behind me, I could hear chaos. People yelling, Mom screaming, Derek threatening to fight me. I got in my car and drove away. My phone was exploding with messages. Aunts and uncles calling my family horrible. Friends of Dad saying they always knew something was wrong. Derek and Jessica calling me every name you can imagine. 2 weeks later, the lawyer made it official. I inherited Dad's house worth $280,000, his life insurance worth $150,000, and his savings of $45,000. Mom tried to contest it, but the will was solid. Dad had even included a video he recorded in the hospital explaining his decision. In the video, he talked about how Derek, Jessica, and Mom only visited him to ask for money. How I was the only one who came just to talk to him. The video destroyed any case Mom tried to make. The judge watched it and literally said, "Your husband knew exactly what he was doing." Mom had to move in with Jessica. Derek had to sell his fancy car. And me? I sold Dad's house and used the money to start a scholarship for kids from families who don't support them. I called it the Richard Chen Second Family Fund after my dad. That was 1 year ago. I've helped 23 kids go to college who came from families like mine. Kids who were invisible in their own homes. Kids who had to work 3 jobs like I did. Kids who deserved better. Every time I hand out a scholarship check, I think about Dad's last words to me. "Thank you, son." He saw me when nobody else did. And now I'm making sure other invisible kids get seen too. My family wanted to use me one last time. Instead, I used Dad's funeral to tell the truth and honor the one person who actually loved me. If this story hit you hard, smash that like button and subscribe to Iron Revenge for more true stories about standing up to family who treats you like garbage. Comment below if you think I went too far or if I did the right thing. Thanks for watching, and remember, blood doesn't make you family. Love and respect do.